Start your week with a triple shot of good vibes. This is the Project Joy podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. Thanks for joining me. Now it's time for this week's story of joy. Things are finally starting to settle down around here after the busy holiday season, and we just finished taking down all of our Christmas decorations, our tree, stockings, all of the stuff that we had out, and attempting to get all of the children to put their stuff away and all of that. It's a fun time, right? So one of my favorite things is to take my time in putting up the decorations and taking them down, because I have so many things in my collection of decorations that belong to my grandmother or belong to my mother or were things that my children made when they were little. And I think it's really important for us to be intentional as we're holding on to things like that in our lives and saying, okay, I have this and I'm going to put it out, but do we just put it out and not look at it? Do we just take it out of the box and throw it on the shelf or throw it on the tree and not really focus on it? What I do is I take the things in my hands and I allow them to bring me joy all over again by looking at the different decorations, where I got them from, what significance do they hold in my life. And there are so many things that I have, like I said, that belong to family members and the kids when they were little, and there's just so much joy to be found there. So as I did that this past week, I really focused on, why do I have this item? What joy is it bringing me in my life? And then I would lovingly wrap it and put it away. And it really is the most intentional I've ever been about putting my things away and caring for them and directing love towards them and receiving the love from them. And it's just so much fun. And I was able to get the kids involved and have them get really excited about taking care of the things and telling them the stories of all the different ornaments as we were taking them off the tree, and the different collectible figures that my mom had painted, and it was just so much fun. And so as I'm doing that, I'm thinking about traditions as well, and I'm thinking about the joy in tradition, and also knowing that there's so much joy to be had in honoring a tradition for when it was, and allowing myself to not have to fulfill that tradition anymore if it's not in alignment with where I'm at. So I just wanted to share a little bit of those joyful things this week that I found while I was taking down my decorations and getting ready for embracing this new year for all it is. And I hope that you have been able to find some joy in the transition of the holiday season as well, in the setting up and the taking down, not just the enjoyment during it. This has been a Project Joy podcast, Story of Joy. What's up, everybody? It's Jessica here from the Project Joy podcast, and I'm here today to tell you about something that has been completely life-changing for me. Are you tired of trying to get stuff done by yourself? Do you need accountability? Are you ready to finally, not just talk about it, but do it, declutter your space physically, mentally, emotionally, to live the best possible life you are here to live? Then you, my friend, need the BYOC, or Bring Your Own Clutter membership. This membership is run by my friend Heather Clark, and it has been life-changing for me. You need this. You need this in 2020. Join us. Go to declutterforchange.com. And now back to the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Project Joy podcast. I am so excited to be here with you for episode 2, Joy in Intentions. All right, so I'm going to get something out of the way really quickly to start us off, okay? Let's keep it joyful and high vibe. All right, so there's a lot of people that knock the R word. Who knows what the R word is? Resolutions, okay? A lot of people knock that word because it's gotten a bad rap over time, right? It's getting really excited at the end of the year. Well, let's be honest. First, it starts out with, well, I ate too much this year. I partied too much this year. I spent too much money this year. I worked too much this year. You know, it starts out with this too much attitude of not really being in gratitude for what happened over the last year. And then the resolution starts because you say, well, I didn't do it this year, so I'm definitely going to do it next year. And you get really excited and you say, well, then this is what I'm going to do in 2020. And you put all your eggs in that basket. You get all excited. You're thrilled. You're ready to go. All your energy's in. And then because you spent all your energy in one place, you start to get burnt out. And that's why that word resolution really gets a bad rap, because a lot of people don't follow through. They don't follow through with what they've resolved to do. But here's a little truth bomb for you today. I'm going to get to some joy in a minute, but let me give you a little truth bomb for today. Okay? The problem isn't in the word resolution. The problem isn't in the creation of resolutions. The problem is in the follow through. It's 100% in the follow through, because the truth of it is that resolution is no different than creating a promise, creating a goal, creating an intention, setting up your journey. It's no different than any of that. It's just this word of a New Year resolution has gotten a bad rap because everybody puts it in this place of, well, it's something we only do once a year. You know, we do it at the start of the new year and then we fail, and now the word resolution doesn't feel good anymore, right? So let's start this off with that. Let's start off this conversation with letting the words go. Let's release ourselves from what we think these words mean and the holds they have on us. And let's talk about the amazingness, the joy to be found in the creation, the execution, and then the success in creating goals and intentions. So, in lieu of creating goals for the entire year, I still really like to look at the big picture. And the one practice that I've adopted that many of you, I'm sure, are aware of, especially if you hang out in the personal development and spiritual development world such as I do, is this adoption of the word of the year, or my one word. Now, I started this a few years ago, as I mentioned in episode 1 of the Project Joy podcast, where I chose the word determined, and it didn't really push me a whole lot, honestly. It was a great word for me because it was a great first word for me because it was really in alignment with who I am. I no matter what I've got going on in my life, it's in my nature to just do it. Just get it done, and I'm determined, and I'm going to get it done no matter what's thrown my way. And so that was a good start. It was a good start. But the idea of these words is to choose something that's going to challenge you. So choosing a word of the year isn't about choosing a word for what you want, because if that's the only thing that you want, if you're choosing a word and you're saying this is the thing that I want in my life, you're not guaranteed to get that. Okay, so for example, 2 years ago I chose the word joy. That was the story I told in episode 1. I chose the word joy. That's actually how this Project Joy podcast came to be. And by choosing the word joy, it didn't mean that I was just going to be handed joyful experiences in 2018, because I can tell you, having lived it, that that's not what happened. Choosing the word joy gave me the opportunity to be mindful of the circumstances and relationships and people and things and energy that's being brought my way, to stop, and no matter what type of thing was being presented to me, I could stop and say, where's the joy here? So whether it was a joyful thing in my awareness, or it was hard or sad or angering or hectic or anything that was outside of the realm of joy, I could stop myself and say, where's the joy here? And choose to find the joy. So in choosing the word of the year, it's not about this is what I want and I'm going to get it. It's about this is what I'd like to experience, and I'm going to choose to find that in every situation. So I had chosen the word determined. I chose the word joy. Last year, 2019, I chose the word simplicity. And that was my most challenging year yet, because I learned that I am not a simple person. I learned that I complicate things, man. I think sometimes I try real hard, but subconsciously I complicate it. It sounds like it's not complicated to me, but gosh, everybody else looking in, I'm sure now, is like, Lord, she complicates everything. Right? So I learned that I'm not a simple person, which made it so much more challenging than every other year, because I had to then not just say, where's the simplicity here, or how do I make this simple? I had to say, are you going to continue this route of complicating every single thing in your life, or are you going to choose to keep it simple? And it was also about learning what simplicity did for me in my life. I would recognize in those moments where I chose not to keep it simple, my stress level would go up, my health would get worse. There was just so many things that complicated life for me, and had detrimental side effects. So there was so many things to learn in 2019 for me in choosing simplicity. And so now moving into 2020, the one thing that I found with simplicity was that sometimes with simplicity, in an effort to keep things simple, I would just plow on ahead. I would just say, screw it. I'm just moving forward because that's the simple thing to do. But in that, I recognized that I was losing some intention. I was losing an opportunity to know that I can still keep things simple at the same time as pausing for a minute and saying, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Breathe. Let's think this through first. And so when it came to creating my word of the year for 2020, I really, I thought about using the word intention, and then I was like, no, I said intentions all the time, which is something I'm going to get to in just a minute, but I want something that's an action word. I need something that I can completely embody and be, and that is to be intentional, to be the creator, to be all in, to be well thought out, to be purposeful, to be meditative, to be all in on every choice I make, from the littlest choices of, should I play this game with my kids right now, to should I go to the grocery store right now, to should I take this new client, to Should I accept this friend's request on Facebook? How many of you need that? How many of you need to be more intentional about the energy that you are welcoming into your being, to your existence, to your life? So my goal is to be intentional. My intention, my word of the year for 2020 is intentional. And so I wanted to give you some other things, because I think that this idea of choosing a word of the year, and even if you're someone that creates a resolution, or maybe you set goals for the year, any of that is fine. Okay. I think the key is, though, to being successful, no matter which one of those options you chose, is a 3-step process. Okay. Number 1, set goals and intentions all the time. All the time. Every day when you wake up, maybe even a couple times a day. Check back in with yourself, okay? Say, this is what I'm doing today, because you'll keep going back to that. You'll keep going back to, this is what I set out to do today, is what I'm choosing to do right now, adding into that. The second thing is to surround yourself with people who are going to hold you accountable. You want friends that are going to say, hey man, you set this goal and you're not following through. What's up? What's up with that? Right? You want those people that are going to hold you accountable, because it's so much more fun too to do life with other people. I believe that's why we're here in this human existence, is to have interaction with other people. We weren't intended to do this alone. So we're creating goals and intentions all the time. We've got people around us that are going to hold us accountable, keep us high vibe. And the number 3 thing is, you have to kick your own rear end on a daily basis. If you set a goal, intention, word of the year, resolution, whatever it is, if you really want that, you've got to come at it with your whole being, your whole self, and say, I am going to do it. And if it means that you need to lose 100 pounds and you pick up that cookie, it doesn't mean you're going to just say, oh, well, I've blown it now, and bite that cookie. No, you have to kick your own rear end and say, no, this isn't what we're doing this year, and put the cookie down. Say it with me, put the cookie down, right? So we really just have to do those things. We have to set our goals and intentions all the time. Keep up with it. Little things every single day. We've got to surround ourselves with people that are going to hold us accountable, and we have to kick our own rear end on a daily basis if that's what we really want. Because the truth is that there's joy to be found in creating these goals and intentions and words of the year, and there's joy to be found in the success of them. But if that's all we're focused on the joy in, we're missing all the joy to be found in the journey. Do you have an amazing moment of joy you've experienced in your life? Tell us about it by emailing us at projectjoypodcast@gmail.com. And now, back to the podcast. Next week on the Project Joy podcast. So we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of my brother Adam's passing. He was just 24 years old when he died of metastatic melanoma. Believe it or not, many of us go through grief. Many of us have lost someone we love. But it's important to know that there can be joy found in grief. So join me for next week's episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please take a moment to rate, subscribe, comment, and share where available. And until next time, make joy a priority in your life today and every day. I'll see you next time. You've been listening to the Project Joy podcast with your host, Jessica Dugas. We'll see you again next Monday and every Monday for another episode to start your week off right.